time to get to work.
Hello. I have returned. And it is, in fact, time to get to work. Hey there, Sheep in a Cart. Hello, Val. Napsor. I am soon at work office. I hope you have a nice day at the office, my friend. I am technically in my office as well. And I will also be beeping the boops. Working on the projects. Making the codes. The mysterious coffee man. Hopefully not that mysterious. It is, after all, my stream, isn't it? Alright. So hopefully you were expecting me to show up and not someone else. What the hell am I looking at here? I am looking at this one. And I click. Yeah, good, perfect. Then we should be able to jump from here to there to... Man, I need to rebuild my scenes and this logic. I haven't, it's just a mess. But, there we go. And the Krita. We got our pen. We don't have an apple though, so can't do the song. What is this channel? Who streams here? Well, Knapsor. It is obviously Casio or something. Trust me, bro. I'm totally super mega famous streamer, man. Okay, so last time, we got the filters done, we got the power classes done, we need to figure out how does the actual attack formation happen? Johnson, oh shit, goddamn it, you're right. It is Johnson. I mean, wait, no. What does he do? He just there you go. Now you see me, now I don't. Oh yeah, now you see me? Now Wah! It can work, yo. Magic. Wow. Oh man, the production quality of the stream is amazing. It's almost like the guy has a budget. He doesn't. Okay, let's see here. So the production class, we're looking at here, he's gonna grab the stuff and use pop to grab the filtered information, so the stuff in place too, and use that to make a budget equals no. Yes, true. I mean, technically you could say I have a negative budget because I keep on spending money on this. And no, that doesn't work. They do pay me. But that goes to other things in build, so. Yeah, depends on how you look at it. Well, no, they don't pay me. They pay, I get royalties. But, yeah, projection class. Magnets, how do they work? Let's find out. So our projection class runes will be the ones who need to perform the actual attack. I still feel like the name is stupid. Oh, by the way, this morning I had an epiphany. I've been thinking about this game. I haven't doing any official game deving, but there's been rumblings in the brain, doodling of ideas, and I had an epiphany. So I was thinking about what is actually the game loop here. How do I want this to work? Because at what point do you build your rune circles? How do you upgrade them? I still want there to be some form of mid-run upgrade, so it has that vibe of in-game progression of, say, your Mega Bonks and Vampire Survivors, because those were the original ideas, right? Then I realized Potato is more of a comparison because the actual upgrades you design and so on will happen to build don't happen mid-run, but they be happening between runs. Then I realized, well, what are we doing? We're hunting down all these elementally charged magical creatures. We want to collect these resources, and when we use them between runs, And then I was thinking, well, how are we like narratively doing this? And then I sort of realized, well, what if our character is in fact a magical robot, like a golem or whatever? And as the game progresses, you then have access to more better gear, so you can build a better robot to send on these expeditions. Because we have to have some way of explaining why failure doesn't just kill you, dude, and end their story. It's because, well, you're actually sending out your freaking combat robots or something to do magic battle across the realms of the multiverse to collect these precious resources. And then I thought about the word. Then you can design your robot and its parts, and that's why you can get like bigger, more complex runic circle things, which all affect each other. And then you can like design your loadout for your expedition. And then when I thought of the word loadout, I realized, wait a minute, I'm making an extraction shooter, aren't I? This ain't a survivor's like. So mild pivot, in the sense of just like naming it for what it truly is. It is a game about sending a magical robot with a magical circle, like magical attack, possible shield. We'll see how complex it ends up being. Which you send into like through a multiversal plane. You choose like, I want to go to this place, and then we randomly generate a map because it's never entirely certain where you end up. And then your character has an X amount of time there to like just hunt down enemies for their drops essentially. Maybe we'll have loot some ruins depending on how the game progresses and so on. Magical robots, yeah, I mean, like, essentially, well, I guess the technical fancy term is like golem, but which actually has Jewish religious roots. Yeah, so it's a mythical creature from the Jewish religion. But yeah, technically magic robots, because I like the idea of having like sci-fi, but high fantasy sci-fi essentially, hard fantasy sci-fi. Put it that way. That's what we're going for here. Hard sci-fi in the sense of the science has to work, but with fantasy, with magic. So that is why we have magic, engineering, enough robots, and you try to make your specialized robots depending on where you need to go for different resources. And I did like the idea that was mentioned, last time we were here, that will there be a base in between? And I like that as a progression mechanic, because it's sort of passive in the sense of instead of just having a number go up, we link that number go up into, say, a visual aspect of something you can build in your base, and suddenly, boom, now it feels even more, the player feels more invested. Works for me very much. I'm thinking, okay, cool, and we want to add that. So you have your base, and there you're building your robots, designing them. We can even have sort of a time element somehow related to it. It takes some time to like process some of these raw things you found from the multiverse, and then you can have your cat girl trader, because I agreed to it. So there must be now the token cat girl. So one of those is then sent to, so you can then buy, sell raw resources, buy other things like certain runes, and certain resources you can only trade for, certain resources you can only harvest for, certain rarer ones. A golem. Heard Gollum first, which did not make sense. Yes. That would be, I'll build your own Gollum. If you first get a hobbit, then you give them a really cursed artifact, and you let them hang on to it for, I think it was around a millennia or two almost. And then you rip it out of their hands. And they're incredibly addicted, yet the power of the curse has made them like quasi-immortal, so yeah. And that's it, make your own personal Gollum. But a golem, yeah, that's what I meant. But yeah, but that is the sort of like flow of the game. I think that is sort of encapsulates the idea of what I was going for. So it's hard fantasy sci-fi, building combat robots, sending them out, and then that is when you play your sort of round. We don't even have to have a character that runs around in the base. It's just that we can have a isometric map, and you build your upgrades there, so you keep on upgrading that base in between. Maybe add some cosmetics, because people like those, but that is a sort of far in the future idea. Right now we just make this shit work. And and one of those things will be first figure out, well, how does the game actually work? Number one being, how does the third and final piece of our very extremely simplistic, our very beginner style runes work? So we have the projection. Prod. And any and all the resources and data structures I've made so far, everything is absolutely sacrificial. Most likely will be completely rewritten, because what our goal is here in the beginning is to rather than making code and structures for the final project, is design the logic flow here, because we can then always replace things. And that's what why I said I want to make sure, try to keep in mind as best as I can from this point, from the very beginning, to build everything as modular and sort of like compartmentalized as possible. So making large changes in a single, like a core component, shouldn't affect things too drastically, because everything should be, expecting certain things from each other. Entering office, ta-ta for now. Well, thank you, Knapsor, for hanging out. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a lovely day at the office, my friend. Hope you have a good day, and I hope the meetings aren't too horribly boring, and are maybe even kind of useful. You never know. Mostly, meetings are just excuses to not write emails, it would seem. Middle management needs to, justify their existence somehow, so they have meetings. Waste everyone's time, and then you blame them for not getting shit done on time, because everyone's forced to sit on these meetings, which serve no absolute zero fucking purpose. The joys of being a solo dev, and the horrors of being a solo dev. The joys is no meetings. The horror is I'm responsible for everything. God, what have I done? Oh, well. Now the projection rune, so first we'll do that conceptually. So what does this do? It takes an input, it generates the attack. Well, no, it carries the information of the shape of the attack. Because the global attack manager creates the node and everything, finds the graphics, all of that. This one just, again, has the information, just packs it together with the filtered damage, power information we got. So far we have power source, we have power filter, and then we'll have essentially a packager, which this one then sends it to the attack manager. And in the future we might have some other spell manager, depending, we could make a spell circle that generates a shield for your dude, and so on. That's why I like the idea of having a sort of mechanical magical robot, because as it expands, it'll fit more runic circles, and that way you can have, because I was kind of liking the idea of runic circles in runic circles, but that'll be more advanced. But just being able to have multiples on a same character, and of course, when that character dies, you lose everything on it. We could have some small inventory that's sent back even in failure, so it's never an absolute loss. I was thinking the character could have an inventory and it's limited, but whatever is in slot one has a slow timer, and when that timer is done, it sort of teleports that item back to home base. So that way you can at least then try to you think, oh shit, we can't win anymore, we can't fight these things, but then you struggle to survive for as long as possible to just at least slowly but surely let's have these temporal teleports go back, or then try to run down the clock when you teleport back with everything that you have. That could in fact be a feature of certain robots, of a build that you have your special slow teleport back pocket kind of thing. But you make sure that you have one of those, it'll slowly but surely send stuff back. And having a limited inventory would also make it interesting, because then you have to sort of think about what do we grab and what don't we grab kind of things. And yeah, I think that could work. Now, I also realized, because we would do other runes like modifiers. And I'm thinking, okay, so we have one thing that makes it speedier, but it'll cost something. We'll figure that out when we get there. But then we'll have modifiers, so then that means our projection rune cares not only by its shape. So what do we need? Okay, so let's write down first the most basic ones. Oh, we need name. Well, no, wait. No, name was in the top class. They all have names. They will all have names. What you need to do is give your own sprite for the rune itself, but this one also needs the info for the attack.
Warning.
Sprite? Hey there, Discount. How you doing? Nice seeing you. Hope you had a good weekend. I saw you were playing another sort of mining game yesterday. I was busy with all kind of stuff, so I couldn't really follow it too much. How did you like it? Was it Mine Mogul? How did you like that one? It looked interesting. It is. I love my automation games, so. Mine Mogul. Aye, yep. How was it? It looked a bit like, oh, well, it's similar to all the others, but some of them are just, strangely rewarding. Some of them are just like all the others. Good EA start? Ooh, nice. Did it have any, interesting twist that makes it, stick out from all the other automation games? Or was it just, a nice, solid, fun automation game? I'll just do that. So, address for the attack sprite. Now, what else do we need? Oh, can't wait to get back into station years. I've drawn a freaking diagram on a piece of paper finally for how I'm gonna make my stupid Harvey system work, with chutes leading to chutes and having spiraling through them all. But that'll be another day. Today's my winter car finally. It has been requested now from various directions that I should give it another go. Now, what does a projection rune else need? Because what okay, what does it do actually? So we generate a bolt for a piece of damage. Its damage is based on the amount, quality of the elemental power it gets. We'll be basing that on a point system eventually, but we're starting with whatever numbers we have. Everything needs to be balanced eventually, not at this point. Now we just need to make a sort of functional, logical flow here, and it can be tweaked at a later point in time. Now, I think we'll have, because I want there to be different levels of bolt, a more advanced bolt and so on, so forth. And they could be even specialized. You have your basic bolt, which is just, like a ball, goes forward, goes from point A to point B as an object. Might be spherical. Its shape and all that can depend on it, varies depending on the elemental balance and so forth. But seeing as there are going to be different kinds of runes here, I think this one should also then carry a damage multiplier. I have no idea how to deal with speed. Because I was thinking we can then add modifier runes that affect speed, other things that can affect speed. So should the bolt, as is designed, be the core define? I think that makes sense actually to me. So we'll shorten that to ATK and speed. Also a float. We'll add this float between 0.0 and 1.0. So this is a percentage because it's a multiplier. Ooh, and hard for me to say, to be honest. I've only experienced a handful of Factorio's King and Scope, Dyson Sphere, but would say they're fairly different. The game I can most compare it to is Heidenir. It feels very similar, but with more pure mine/factory feel. Yeah, I was looking at Heidenir because I've been hearing about it, and the name was familiar. Then I looked it up on Steam, and I saw the trailer, and I'm thinking alright, cool, seems neat. But then at some point, it really lost me. Can't remember where and what exactly it was, because I feel like it started out as a factory automation game, and then it got a little confused by what it wants to be. And then the themes got all weird and mixed up. So Heidenir is one of those, I'd give it a go if I got it for free. It is not a game that inspires me to want to pay for it. But it looked neat, the idea of it all. But it has a more pure mine/factory feel. Now that sounds actually, that sounds like it could be down my alley. It's you weren't here, but it's earlier, like I was explaining how I had a revelation of this project of what I'm building here, and one is like thematically, what I'm trying to make is hard fantasy sci-fi, because I realized that, okay, how we need to, I want to be able to always narratively explain why our character survives death. And for this one, we don't, because what we're sending out is magical robots to do our fighting for us. And I think Hydroneer is a game where you can play multiplayer on one copy. Alright. That could be neat. And Achievement Card saying Hydroneer has some of the worst UI in any factory game. It'd be suitable for an RPG. I mean, that's the kind of thing, yeah, it looked like that. What I meant, like, when I watched the trailer, the game, it felt a little bit like they got confused about what they were trying to make. Maybe they were, the classic artistic differences in the team. But yeah, because there's so many factory games, and especially because they are the absolute, mega winners of, Factorio is God. I would agree with that one. Dyson Sphere is super fun, goes sci-fi, but Dyson Sphere is very fun, and then another one, of course, is Satisfactory, also up there. So those three are like the leaders, as far as I know, in the games I played. With, Factorio being sort of the original, really broke through. Satisfactory being like Factorio, but first person in 3D. And then Dyson Sphere by just going sci-fi, multiplanetary, and just making certain things, simplifying certain parts and adding more complexity in others. So I like that they made their own game, and I like that one. Whereas Satisfactory seems to be just Factorio but in 3D, first person. Then we have, there's all kinds of logic factory. If this leads to here, separate these, like the shapes and so on. Shapes looks fun, but it lacks something that I like in my factory games, which is a narrative, immersive, sort of some kind of explanation of what are we doing and why. And yeah, for this one, yeah, so the idea is we're going to build magical robots. We need to then design the magical sort of runic circles which power them or give them our attacks, and those are the ones we're sending in through portals to other dimensions to collect magical resources through the generous application of violence to the locals. And in doing so, they can get destroyed, you lose those resources, but then, you try to collect resources, money, do some trading, do some harvesting, and then you build your sort of like golems, magical robots, however we're going to end up calling them, and they're sent out. And that explains the sort of how failure doesn't have the terminal cost as it should have. And that way then I can see the sort of like projection of how the game progresses. You start with a simple thing, you only fit like one magical circle for like your attacks. Later on you can build a chassis that has more complex parts. It can carry more complex runic circles, and it can have multiple ones, so you have a more complex attack plus then a separate one that purely does like a shield around you or something. And so that way we have, and the game must always follow its own rules, and that's why I want the magic design to be granular, so that I'm not generating here's a random spell that does this, here's a random bullshit spell that does that, and so on. Like, no, it all follows the same rules, built with the same runes. Hard sci-fi, but in a fantasy setting. Hard fantasy sci-fi. Hard fantasy, if you will. That's what I want. And Satisfactory is my favorite of the games. Voice acted, beautiful hybrid, verticality handmade map, no racing against the clock, resource nodes are infinite, no evolution or attacks on your base. Yeah, Satisfactory is super fun. It has that chill design to it. I mean, like, it has that train network, which ultimately is kind of fucking pointless, to be honest. But I always loved trying to build one. I should do a stationary, like a Satisfactory run at some point. Maybe we'll do a friggin' multiplayer server. We can all work together, build like this giant railroad system, because that would be fun. And Star Rupture, the current game of the week in Factory Games, they priced it sensibly, and it's worth it. But it has a few early access type issues. Yeah, that's what I heard. I checked it out. I've seen people play it. It looked interesting. I like the design. I like the world. The way the player moves around, the UI, it very much feels like, okay, whoever designed this was designing a shooter game, but it's okay. And attacks on the base is what adds the challenge to Factorio. Yeah, that and limited resources, so you keep on having, you must expand. Whereas in Satisfactory, you have your nodes, and eventually you have to find more nodes, but eventually they need to get better mining tools and so on. So the math of one resource extraction point will never change. Whereas in Factorio, the factory must grow, and you have to go further out and fight the locals, really piss them off, because you need to steal all their natural resources. And that is a sort of push and pull kind of way to maintain tension in the game, and I really enjoy it. Plus, of course, the factory grows, pollution grows, the enemies get tougher, and so on. It is just wonderfully made, wonderfully balanced, a good example of know what you're doing, understand your product, and understand your audience, and it's fantastic. And yeah, Star Rupture seems like it's a sort of fun game, but it also a little simplistic still at this point. But as an early access thing, yeah, I'm hoping it'll add more complexity. Just reading by the reviews, because I always find like good, sensible, negative and positive reviews be useful, and I think the most negative ones agreed, and even some of the positive ones, they agreed on the fact that yeah, the game seems cool, feels like a satisfactory clone, but then again, that's just because the nature of it. You build factories in a first-person view in a three-dimensional world, yeah, and then it all feels a little simple and maybe more focused on the fighting. And I'm like, alright, cool, but that sounds okay because you build these turrets as well, so I can see that maybe the automation doesn't have to be too complicated. If they add more complication to the base defense, adding some more tower defense kind of logic into the game, and that seemed really interesting. So I'm excited to see how Star Rupture evolves. And I will agree, sensible pricing seems to be the winning strategy nowadays. You sell a game for 60 euros or 15 euros, you're gonna make more money with the 15 euros just because you sell more games. Plus, well, there's an economic depression going on globally, and if you price it like in the AAA price range, the problem is you are very much cutting out a large part of the world from being able to be sensibly being able to afford your game, which is just dumb. Because games as a digital media will not rot on shelves. It's better to plan for the long haul rather than release week sales. No, long tail. At least for small boys. And pull-based, not push-based resource network is enough to make your brain rest of the tired and tested layout of the belt-based games. Well, $60 USD, I'd have refunded it. Yeah, the Star Rupture. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, exactly. You do an EA game, you've gotten to this point, now you need feedback. Does it work? What do people like? Where do we need to pivot? Do we need to look? Because yeah, Star Rupture seems to have multiple mechanics happening at the same time, and now they need the feedback of early access to try to figure out where should they focus, So, and yeah, good pricing, always good. Also, I need to get back. There's so many games I need to play. So many games, not enough time, and freaking Stationeers is stuck in my mind. I think I need to I said it last week. I was supposed to do it this weekend, but got stuck with IRL stuff and other ideas. Yeah, I need to make a proper schedule, add more games to it. Because gotta earn that variety title. That's what we're doing my winter car today, and then add a limited amount of Stationeers so that I don't only play Stationeers all the time. Because there are games that need to get played. For one, because you, my lovely audience, have made me play buy games so we could play them. You can enjoy me fumble through them, which means I should actually play them at some point. But just work as resources, so I guess we'll start with that one. Factorio at some point, and narrative ones. Maybe it'll be fun if we do like a thematic one, so we'll have make a schedule where we have what streamer wants to play, which currently is just Stationeers. Then we'll have factory-based games. Then we'll have narrative-based games, because there's those that we need to play through. Well, now we would have like three bits a week. Now 3 different games. Now try to keep we try to keep playing through. Plus, then one day for we'll do We'll steal the ideas from everyone else and do like a variety day of, you know, audience gets to vote. I'll put you on Discord. Here's a list of the games I own. What do you want to see? Have you played Factorio before? Yes. Yeah, I played through Factorio, the original. Loved it. Then I got the updates and I was playing through that and I pretty much just made it to the ice world, and then I started streaming and I was thinking, you know, no one wants to see someone jump in the end. So I started from the beginning, and then I joined Kasheim, and then I haven't touched Factorio. So the very first game I streamed was, I did a couple of streams of Factorio before I got into the Valheim with Casual Elephants and met all of you wonderful, lovely people from there. And then I feel like I started making it as a streamer. Really love that game. Attack speed load. Okay, cool. Yeah, just like I played Satisfactory. I got Satisfactory in early access, then I played through the entire thing once more when 1.0 came out. So a lot of these games I played, you know, pre-streamer. I've only been doing this for a little bit over a year now, which actually that feels, Jesus Christ, it's already been a year. Damn. Ooh. I love these days. My 2 hours of dev end up being just getting distracted, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm in no rush just yet. Okay. So what am I looking at here? And also, thanks to Factorio and all those wonderful games, like a factor-based game is something I would like to try to make at some point. I think it could be neat. I had some ideas at one point, and I think I've written them down, and I think those notes might have made it to the trash. That is why, yeah, we need to start having these long-term game dev ideas, projects, and we'll just hope we get them to some point. Because if I just sit around on these ideas, they'll never get game made, and they'll just haunt me forever. And then someone does something that is vaguely similar, and I'll be like, oh no, I thought of that first. I should have done it. Oh no. And then I'll just feel bad, you know. So better to just keep on trying. Rather than, you know, lamenting all those missed chances. Well, what was that? Wasn't it like baseball quote or something? You miss all the shots you don't take kind of thing? Now, the projecting rune. Now the problem here is, how do we define the shape of an attack? Like, we could have pre-made ones. I was thinking, either we predefine types, such as like bolt, beam, AoE, so forth. You know, because AoE we can translate into multiple things. It can be an explosion, so AoE damage, short period. AoE could be a long-term, damage field, if you will. It could even be used to make a shield for your character that, you know, will get internal logic for when it detects when an attack enters it, and it reduces and it gives it a negative damage multiplier kind of thing. I have an idea for a space adventure akin to a submarine/torpedo game, but no idea how to code it yet. Well, just start. Another thing, I was talking with on Casual stream earlier, like, he was wondering also, like, oh, should he do some of these game ideas he has, or should he do his dream game, and he's a little afraid of doing the dream game. And my recommendation is half-ass your dream game. That's the best way. Because if it turns out to be a good idea, you can always pivot into a serious project. But if you half-ass it, if nothing else, you'll have a test version, and you'll know, would the idea actually work? Because a lot of our dream game ideas might be like cool ideas as a concept in our head. In practice, might not have been that fun. So half-ass it, because then if you fail, you don't feel that bad about it. And if it succeeds, even better. I mean, I need to do that kind of stuff, because if I aim to like immediately, this will be the best thing ever, and I start out that way, if it doesn't turn out the best thing ever, you know, I'll mentally damage myself, because I'm dumb. Or it might turn out good, but it won't be what I expected it to be. So I'll still feel bad about it. I talked about it with the missus and some friends. That is like the curse of the creative type is everyone else sees what you made, and they might think this is really cool, this is really good, I like this. And you look at it and you hate it, because you know what it should have been. Just like, people can feel bad about all kinds of things. People can see, look at your like behavioral history, and then look at, oh, you're like, I don't know, you're a good person because in these situations you behave this way. You can still internally feel very bad about yourself because you think, yeah, but I know what I considered. Not about the choices we made, but it's also about the choices we like honestly considered and so on. And there's so many unknowns like from the rest of the world happening in your brain, and some of them are really dumb. Like really dumb. But they really make you feel bad about yourself and stuff, so you stress about pointless shit. But I suggest you have a good code grounding, understand class objects, etc. Yeah, I got no idea. Yeah, I mean, well, this counts. For that, I'd say, maybe. It doesn't matter. That's the way I say, half-ass it. Just make something that kind of works and looks kind of like it. Because that's also the best way to learn something, is to have an end goal you kind of understand, and a project you want to work on. Because if it's just coding for coding's sake, because you need to learn coding, it's very hard to find the motivation for that one. Plus, coding in general is just
Son off 10.
complex.
Wavestash.
Hello.
What I considered as no one else's business, and if they know, I need thicker aluminum foil.
That's very true, Gonna Tank. That's very true. Yeah. But that's the thing, yeah. One's biggest critic is usually yourself. Because, they're you're always with you. They're the one person who will always be with you through your entire life, and with one should strive to find peace with, and that is yourself. And easier said than done, for at least me. But yeah, and on the coding thing still, yeah. I mean, that sounds like an awesome way to start learning then. If you have a game idea you want to do, and you want to then understand more about how all the objects and all this work, and how does one code this stuff, well, just start doing it. Make silly things. That's why I enjoyed my weekly game jams very much, because there was a good chance for me to just force myself to not overcomplicate, but specifically simplify all these game dev stuff. Because I felt that I have it's clicked in my brain how coding works. How do I speak to the machine? How do I make the machine spirit do the things I want it to? Object-oriented, slightly newer still for me, because my first language is C, so no classes and so on there. But I felt I've learned a lot, and I keep on learning more. And by just making things, I have to push my boundaries and learn new things. Practice makes perfect. Don't worry about not being good enough. No one's good enough. But we're all improving. I mean, actually, most people might be good enough, but depending on what your goal is. Yeah. So here I was thinking okay, if we have these pre-made things, because these could be then used both for anything that goes as a encapsulated object from point A to point B, and then brings an effect to the end. Beam, rather than has the entire trajectory, which would have then a length, and then would have its effect along its entire length. And AoE is a radius. We'll find out which one is the more mathematically simpler one there. Do we do radius or... in engine we have the area object. It'll create one of those, give it a size, perfect. We can even that way have essentially different shapes, but I think for the simplicity we'll have AoEs mostly be... mostly circles. Okay, well here's a question. What is the difference between a beam and an AoE? Because if a beam would be... If it's just a line, a single dimension, but we still want to detect whatever it hit. So it still needs an area. Because the bolt will be just an object traveling. And eventually it'll overlap with something else using the good old physics. And then we figure out what happens to it with this interaction, and should they interact. Whereas a beam would be, like I said, it has its effect everywhere along its length. So I think a beam is secretly a subclass of an AoE. actually had an interesting idea for a game, remembering something I played like 25 years ago, and not understanding computer limitations at the time. I would have had no idea how to start it. Yeah, that's the amazing thing nowadays. There's so many free tools, so much free guides. Like, I know many game devs are like, beginners, they disparage the YouTube tutorials and the code alongs, and you'll never learn anything that way. And I did, so I would disagree. Like, they have their place, because again, like I like talking about the problem of unknown unknowns. Doing a code along, using for a tool like Godot, and it's like, hey, let's build this two-dimensional side-scrolling platformer, and you code along with them. And they have this, here's all the resource files you need, and then, okay, this file you'll find in this folder, and you name it like this, and it's named like this, and then this is how you make your like floating cherries look like cherries, and this is how you get your character to jump on it, and the game will react to it, and you'll get a +1 in your whatever points variable, because it shows you what's there, what can be done. Yes, it won't make you technically a better coder, but it shows you how does the tool work, what kind of things can we do, and so on. So it's a very good basis. I did like 2 or 3 of those when I first got into Godot, different kind of projects, and yeah, they taught me very much about what are things called in Godot, how does Godot work, and then from there on I then started making other things, and then especially this last year of doing my weekly mini game jams, I've learned so much more, and now we're doing a slightly more complex one. Now, I think for like shape, yeah, we're gonna have to have predefined things. I think that'll be the easiest. Or whether it's a bolt, AoE beam, and so on. So we predefine those somewhere else, and then the projection rune will simply have access to that information. We can actually define all of those inside the attack handler. That would be the easiest one, and the projection rune have, I don't know, freaking enum. Hey yo, one of these. One of these, please, with these details, because then we can... The whole creation of the node would happen there. It would make sense, yes, because for its shape of the object in the world is created in the attack manager, in the global. So they can create one of those in all the scenes. So you can always generate a map, and because global exists, you can always have an attack spawn into the world. And then that one would be, because it's doing the like in-scene generation, it would have the access to, we can predefine scenes for how bolts work, how AoEs, how beams are, and so forth. Hey there, Blinkster 2. Got an attack, best start at the beginning. Yeah, exactly. And the very first step, what we're doing here. Now, what I'm doing slightly more complex was, but the very first, draw out the thing on paper. Just do the logic. Like, I want a game. Draw pictures of it. Whatever helps you visualize and explain what does the game do. Like, in what situations, what should happen? Because the logical flow of it is the core, the absolute core. That is actually what is happening. Then how you code it, how you make the machine do the thing, well, that's just, that's just mechanical, practical skill. That's the things you can find out, that's you can figure out. But if you know, like, if this, then that, so okay, oh no, enemy hits player, what happens? Well, then this happens. Or maybe there's an option, so then you figure out what leads to where, what's a dead end, how does the game flow? Everything else, all of this is just, cogs and wheels and things you can learn, things you make. But if you have the game designed, the concept of it, the logic of it, what leads to what is the end goal, what is the purpose, do you jump, how do you jump, that kind of stuff. The more you have it figured out on paper first, what I'm doing now is also like figuring out the similar logic, but just, in more like how to build these data structures, because, I know how to do these things. But it could be even more abstract, because then you have a map to follow. Then you just need to find the correct bits and pieces to put together for that map to turn real. I'm making games using Unity. Def have some sort of game plan. Yeah, if a game plan, that's a big part of it. High-level abstract plan is good. Absolutely. Absolutely agree, Blinkster. Yeah, the GDD, game design document. You can have a nice official freaking PowerPoint level, exact level stuff. If you work with other people, that might be better. Have easily like well documented stuff, especially if you're trying to then get like funding, you know, because the big projects, at least, you know, they used to. You have a sort of core. You have your GDD is the thing that really sells. Here's the game design document. This explains what is the concept of the game, how we're gonna make this. If you have a simple demo made on the side, even better. Well, that is the one that sells, and that is essentially what I'm building here, except in a much more, you know, less sensible manner. Let's see, because you know, every day we draw in more. So what is the concept here? What is this idea? So I have documentation for the concepts, the logic. I'm also having it partly in video form because I'm saving all of this. And with all due respect, ChatGPT can do this for you as well. It's useful. Absolutely. That is the kind of stuff it is meant for, you know. For double, triple check everything ChatGPT, right? Because, you know, its main features that makes it amazing is also one of the things that makes it bad sometimes. And it is the fact that it hallucinates. It is fantastic for making sound human-like. Very bad for sometimes it'll invent it because it'll fill out the blanks itself. Rather than saying, I don't know. But as long as you're aware of it, double check what it wrote, excellent. Yeah. It's one of those things that people are like anti-AI and so on. I'm like, no, I'm not. AI as a tool is fantastic. The problem is, and will always be, the corporation behind them. It is the wielder of the tool that makes bad decisions. I also hallucinate at 3 a.m., but this is okay. Yeah, me too. I'm usually unconscious by that point. Sorry. Good old unconscious hallucinations. But I hope you're doing well, Blinkster. Nice seeing you around. I think I greeted you already. I'm not just hurting. Yeah, the tags are there for a reason. Easily distracted. I'm trying to sort of like mull this thing. Glad to hear. And yeah, gameplay used something like that imitated artificial intelligence back in the 90s. I was thinking it would be interesting to make something that actually could learn by being directed. Oh yeah, I mean like that. Okay, that is the problem also with AI. Is people think AI is new but it's such a broad term. AI is every single game where things, you know, have to decide, do we go left or right? Every single behavior pattern that is directed by rules and algorithms. Congratulations, you have rudimentary AI. It makes its own decisions. And the current AI is more complexity of that one. And having a thing that learns, I mean, yeah, I think lots of games did that, didn't they? I mean, lots of games have tried that at least. And even simple AI is still AI, it's just, you know, not really that advanced. But I guess you could try to make something more complex that learns things. But then again, what is it learning and why? That depends on the complexity you want to then give, you might need. If you want it to be like, I don't know, a self-learning chatbot, congratulations, you describe ChatGPT. If you want to make it like a mouse that can figure out how to solve mazes better, well, there's an entire competition built around that one, but they use it by building AI into robots, tiny robots, where you have robot mice and they're running through mazes. It's really cool. I can't remember the name right now, but there's lots of videos on YouTube. I think they're world championships and everything. There's tiny little mouse robots, and the idea is you have to put it in a maze, let go, and then whose mouse is able to solve that maze the fastest wins. And my lecturer said the same thing about AI and people thinking it's new. He suggested a book I bought called Vehicles, Experiments in Synthetic Psychology. Oh! I'm gonna put a stream marker here so I can find that one later. Thank you. Might have to look into that one. But yeah, I mean, because AI is an old concept, and essentially anything that can make its own decisions without being hard-coded is AI. That's it. As we think of it now. Well, thank you, Blinkster. I appreciate it. And thank you, Amamo Monkey Ortiz 71317723 for that follow. I do appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful day, friend. And I guess I should have a vote at some point, because I know that many people have, you know, anonymous follows that aren't as quite as loud as that. I was thinking, like, should I implement those as well? Maybe one of these days. I'm okay for this one. I think I still have a little bit of coffee left here. I drink it because it's getting awfully cold. Enum question mark. With very simple machines responding to simple external stimuli that becomes more complex over time. Yeah, exactly. Because essentially, what are we describing as the simplest, like, intelligent machine? It is, viral and bacterial logic. It doesn't have to be that complex. It just needs to, exactly react to stimuli, not have perfect information, and not have everything hard-coded into it. It can even, but it needs to be able to make that choice between A, B, or C somehow. And there you have it. Because from those, I think Boyd's was one of these things that is technically kind of AI-ish, where you're just simulating birds. I love the fact that they call it Boyd's swarm behavior, and I think that is what was used as the basis for the game Zomboid, where they had zombies using herd behavior, where you have extremely simple rules that then have emerging complex behavior. Follows and avoids light, yeah, that kind of stuff. Sorry, taking off and went off that. Hey, no worries, Blinkster. It happens here a lot. It's totally okay. I always go off tangent on most things. Yeah, most you'll have Enum question marks. I'm not sure how to do it yet, but I think Enum would be the best one because it's just, again, more visually clear what are we referencing to, because I like to have my code be as sort of, I like the word that was used, self-documenting as possible, because, well, I will easily forget details. I need to store information externally. I'm a cyborg with pen and paper and with external memory. So instead of having like integers and so on, we use enums, and then they're actually defined in the global, like how it builds the node. Okay, yeah. Then we have attack speed, damage multiplier, attack sprite, and then a function. Okay, yeah, we're gonna need a data structure that it constructs. I just love the stuff and not spoken about it for a decade. Oh, yeah, I know the feeling, Blinkster. The world is cool. It's sometimes, it's easy to forget. It's tragically easy to forget how cool the world actually is. And then it's every now and then it's nice to just geek out about cool shit just because we can. I'm gonna just get rid of that. And we go back to this one. Turn off that one. Okay, so I think we'll have to then have here a function that is the, active rune or whatever it was called. Oh, no, we can't use that one. It'll have to then be the activate rune is taking in our elemental spell array and returning that one. What it does is pops off the filtered information and uses that to call on its own, like a separate function, which is, we'll call it for freaking construct attack for now. Construct ATK. And then it will need to use that information, send that information, and then the elemental power information from here to construct a selection of information to send over to our generating global. When I was a teacher, I'd go off on massive tangents like this. It sounds like you were an amazing teacher then, and when you had the option to do that. Yeah, some of my favorite teachers also went off on like large set tangents, but they were also usually dependent on the size of the class, how much freedom did they actually have. Yeah, for this one we're gonna do this, I think. Yeah. I think next step would be, let's try to make one of these. Now we're not looking at level rune projection, extends rune base, and in rune base we have this one, so I'm gonna we'll start with one of those. Oh, can't. So return this elemental array. So now it does nothing. Because we're going to override it here because we're extending the rune base. The rune base had name, sprite, type. Perfect. Also will be an enum eventually. Var, we do attack, sprite. Is a string. Then we had damage multiplier. Float. We'll start at just 1 point. Oh. Comment. Yeah, because your basic projection rune won't be going beyond 100% damage, but it could be then affected by other runes in the spell array that increases multiplier. Then we need the variable for attack underscore speed, which would be a float, and default to 0. There we go. Because the idea is to then have, like in our rune circle, we have our power source. We have a filtration, which is currently at 100% efficient, but eventually there'll be, less efficient ones and more efficient ones. And our damage multipliers, because for our bolt projection rune, we'll also then have different efficiencies. But for the very first one for testing, we're just assuming a 100% efficiency everywhere. We'll worry about the rest later. Now the activate rune will then, of course, we'll grab, say, var filter underscore power of type array. Elemental power resource array equals takes the value from the elemental array dot pop back, I believe. I love the good old documentation. Just control click a thing and it jumps into it. Removes and returns the last element of the array. It returns null if the array is empty without generating an error. See also pop fronts. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Because we want to remove the last one. But only if element array size is greater than 1. We do that. Otherwise, else, we'll currently just use a print error message of no filtered power in array. We can also do an elif Oh wait. If it's less than 1, print there. Bigger issue. Just so we can have feedback to document if this happened. Now, then we could have we call create attack. All right. There you go. Now we do the function. Func. Actually, we're gonna make sure we do that properly. We don't need an array of it. So we just do lm power resource outputs call, and does nothing currently. Filter power should also, I realized we should not in fact be an array, but just one of these things, because the elemental array. So this one is an array. From the pack we pop one of these, stick it in here, create attack, filtered power. Now with an underscore in the beginning, because we're sort of visually calling this one. This should be a private. No one should be calling this function outside of these. Well, this file. Create attack not found in base self. There you go. Now how to create this attack? Well, now we need to figure out things. And the attack here would then most likely have different kinds of elements in it. Even though, like currently our filtration was 100% efficiency, but the idea was to then have it be less than perfect and also leak in a little bit of the other elements. So there is, should we say dirt in the attack that will be cutting down on its ultimate efficiency. But if we, for now, assume a perfect filter, how do we identify what kind of attack are we making here? What is the elemental constitution of our ultimate attack? Maybe we just like go through the entire list and then identify what is the biggest elemental concentration? Single element, multiple elements. Now I want to, seeing as we do this, we might want to do that in multiple places. So that is something we should actually have then inside the elemental power resource itself as an inbuilt function where we can just request like, so what are you? Like we could then, and then we need to design our structure for, and we're sending to the actual attack manager. var for attack shape int 0 has a value of 0. Add comment to do change into enum defined in attack manager global. Because if they're just integers, they're numbers, it'll be the same as having an enum, but an enum is easier to read for a human being by saying, oh, okay, so this is this kind of type. So then it's type of what kind of attack are we doing, then defines, well, things. And then we'll have to have, right, to go with the shape, we'll then have to have size information. Means, yeah, we'll have to have some kind of, like, do we build these? Oh well, we'll figure them out. I think export is what I want to do here. What following property is exported? Edit boolean in inspector doc and save to disk to control the type of exported properties. Type hint notation. There we go. Next we're going to want to then eventually build. You know what? We can just not do that right now. It's fine. That'll be for later on when we start then actually building the proper runes, and we want to then build and design and see how they look and behave in the actual editor. For now, just code. Now the create attack would then have to then ask from the elemental power resource what kind of bullshit did he got. Sleepy Doggo. How do we get this? Maybe each set of filtered magic always and only has the like the one type. So that if we had the kind of logic that has multiple elements, need that one anymore. Multiple elements in one attack, would we then have multiple ones of these in the same array? So the very first one will always be the unfiltered one, and every time you go through a filter, it adds one more to the back, essentially. And that way, when we go to deactivate the rune here, this one for example, and it will always take the latest filtered information. So if it go first, it says because it goes to like a fire filter, then like an air filter, and then it goes to a root. This one will then make an air bolt. The fire will be ignored. I think that would make sense. Because then when you could have runes that detect well different kind of contents, we could have just inbuilt sort of warning in the system. Well, hey, you can't build this because there's there's gibberish. The bolt doesn't know what to do. Or some other system where it goes, if it's already filtered and goes through a second filter, while the original gets mixed back in and then it all gets refiltered. Something like that. And that could work. But let's assume at the moment, instead of complicating with future problems that don't exist yet, which I do far too much, and we focus on the current situation. Like I said, we're assuming a 100% efficiency in everything. So now we have a elemental power resource. It has one element only inside itself. So we could have a I think eventually we should also turn all the elements from strings to integers, enums. But again, that'll be for later on. And that's why we're building these classes, so that we can then make changes in these, and they should all affect all other runes, all things, like downriver, if you will. So we have a variable. We should call this attack element, which easiest for us right now would be having it be a string. And now we need to give that string a value. So attack element equals lmpower dot get underscore what is call it for now main element, because we have a get elements which does something. So now we have a look at our elemental power resource folder that we're looking at here. Currently we have only 4 elements, but the idea is to have a more complex system. The idea is to have your Noita, but instead of like using pre-existing spells, we're using runes to make the actual spell. We're going like hard sci-fi into fantasy, so hard fantasy sci-fi simulation of building your own spells. Now we have set elements, get filtered, get elements, and get main element. And get elements, return the elemental power. Yeah, the rune shouldn't give a shit. It should not be doing this kind of checks. Well, this structure should be doing it. So how about we then get, because we just do the, like, we walk through the dictionary and we see whoever has a value above 0 and return that one as a string. The problem is that we'll then try to return multiple strings that has multiple values. So to get the main elements, we'll then have to have an array of strings, essentially. Because for this one, I am seeing a future problem, because, like I said, I'm going to want the machine to very quickly have inefficiency. Which means the other numbers matter. They will have numbers. Currently, they only have 0. I have like a hair or something in my nose. I don't know what it's about. I doubt it's a rogue mustache hair. You never know. But then, I also have a couple of dogs who do love shredding all over the place, who might also be filling my nostrils with dog hair. Okay, we get total, get elements, and we do func get main element, and you're returning a string, which is okay, and we do var main underscore elem of type string equals is empty string. We don't actually need to do that, and we can then have for elem in elemental power var temp power of type float equals 0.0. Ah, true. Then we do actually want a string here which says empty. Now for lm in elemental power, if elemental power lm greater than temp power, temp power takes the value of elemental power. Whoop. There we go. LM and main LM takes the value of LM. Because the LM here, because it's a dictionary, is this string here. So we go through all these. If fire, and so that's why if nothing is greater than 0, nothing is, then the string will remain unchanged, and it will simply say empty. And then we return main element. So this way, game main elements start the empty string and a float power of 0, and then we return the name of the main element, if there is one. Otherwise, it says empty, and then we're all gonna have a bad time. You can, in fact, just return an empty string; it'll be just fine. The point is that the string must exist, so if you find nothing, it has something to actually return. Otherwise, we know computer get angry. Run back to a rune projection. So there we go. LM power. The attack element is a string, and then we can have a safety check if attack element is the same as an empty string. Print filtered power empty, and we'll do a return. Even though this one doesn't do anything, we'll just call a return and return nothing, because that one just stops the entire function from moving. And hello there, Weirduck. How you doing? Good morning to you, friend. Good morning indeed. Filtered power empty. So that is our nice little simple safety check here. Okay, other than that, now we have the name of our main element. And we can add another variable here of, oh, I don't think we knew that. How's stuff going for you today? Well, things are going pretty well. Keep having some dog hair or something in my nose, so sorry about that. Other than that, got a whole bunch of lovely distractions with chat, going off tangents, and we are designing and building how the projection rune will actually function in the game. Getting there, slowly but surely. Trying to figure this one out and figuring what does this thing actually do. And one of the things is, it's just supposed to collect the information we have into a shape that makes sense, send it to the global, that then creates the actual attack. This one doesn't need to know anything. All it does is, arrange existing information, give it forward to the global, who then actually has access to the different kinds of nodes and so on, and can load the node in, make the scene, have the actual fireball in the game scene exist, carry that information, and know what to do when it hits when it gets to the end. But hope you're doing well yourself, Weirduck. Hope you're doing well today. I was thinking, do we need to care? Okay, let's just call this attack damage is a float. Starts at a 0.0. Yeah, I'm trying to get some motivation to start doing something productive. It is an eternal struggle, that one. Like, I've got some regressive testing to be done at work, but it's so boring. Tragic. One of those things, like, yeah, at some point, you just gotta do it. Find some good, like, benchmark, like, where do you have a break? At what point have you earned a little reward? And then work towards those. Reward yourself with, a snack, a nap, a break, going out, playing games, watching YouTube, something you enjoy. Or then just put a timer, like the one people use for like writing and workout, where you have like, an X amount of minutes on a timer for focus or hard work, followed by an X amount of minutes for a break, and then same again. I want to say it's the Tabata method, but I can't remember if that's correct. Okay. But now we have our attack elements. So I think we could do attack damage has the value of LM power, get elements, which is now dictionary, within brackets, attack elements. Element. I think that should work. Get elements. There. Returns that dictionary. Now this is how we refer into dictionaries using strings. There. So now the float value has the value that was inside our filtered stuff. We can add then more complications to this complexity, where depending on, the amount of like waste value stuff happens. That might be easier to do that inside the elemental power resource itself. Give it a just like give me your damage. Give me main element. How much power you got? Because then the rune here doesn't need to give a shit. I think that'd be best, yeah. Because then all that math that has to do with that piece of that chunk of information, which is the elemental power array, which we are planning on doing changes into anyway, will all be there. So currently we just got, attack damage equals this. Works for me. Now, what else we got? Then, attack damage times equals damage multiplier, because the rune itself has its own efficiency. So it takes that raw information we got from the elemental power, how well that was filtered, and so forth. Then the rune itself has an X amount of efficiency, so we apply this to the damage multiplier. 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 There you go. Hei there, Soulsguard. Ei mikä vittu ei onnistu. Todellakin. Some days are like that. Now we're just building a theoretical system which might maybe work. We'll see once we eventually build a system that is and try to make use of all these components. Will anything happen? That'll be its own debugging hell once we get there. Just maybe. Yeah, we'll see how it works on this one, and then we'll see how that works in my winter car when we get there eventually. We'll play that one later. We'll be doing a end of live stream, restart of live stream over on the YouTube side as well, so that they can go in their respective playlists and so on. Because you can't change category in the middle of a live stream over on YouTube. You'll have to instead have two separate ones, and that's okay. So attack damage is elemental power from get elements. We apply our own damage multiplier from this one. Now, then we have shape, size, speed. So how do we give all that information over to the global? And we could just make a dictionary. Just, name it all. I really want to play My Winter Car, but I want to start before I have time to get into it properly. Also, I haven't had the chance to get into MSC yet either. Ooh, yeah. I played a bunch of MSC, I want to say it's almost, should be a year, like 10 months ago or something like that, 11 months. Beginning of last year, in the springtime, I played some MSC and had a blast with it. I really should get back to it one day, get a proper long run, because all these more experienced MSC players are starting their My Winter Car, and apparently you can load in your old save and get all kinds of carry over, depending on what you've done in there. Like there's some of them have a neighbor, which in my run I do not, because I just started sort of vanilla empty My Winter Car experience. So that one dude who you helped move in My Summer Car has not been moved in there. And then it seems that if you buy a certain high-end radio in My Summer Car, that will apparently then you can have that then carry over into the My Winter Car, and that is why some people's sorbet has a freaking radio. And I'm jealous. Last time I played MSC, I rage quit because I died falling down a septic tank. Oh! The computer carries over. Yes, that is very true. Hey, Backrillionaire. Hope you're doing well. Nice seeing you. But yeah, all kind of stuff carries over. So at some point, I'm going to have to do another MSC run where I actually try to achieve more than just barely get the car working and die to something stupid. Big old challenge in itself. Okay, so we got attack damage multiplier. But yeah, and I'm here struggling. How do I carry this information over? And I kind of don't want to do a dictionary, even though I know it'll work. And I'm wondering, where would we have this dictionary? Maybe we just create one in create attack, because every time we create the attack, we'll be wanting to make sure it's, because, things might change. I don't know. We want it to be insulated. So we'll do attack dict of type dictionary equals, and then we see, what does it carry? Well, you would have damage, it would be a float of 0.0. It would have speed of type float and 0.0. It would have size type 0.0, and it would have a dictionary. We can combine all kinds of bullshit, I do believe. So then we could have shape, which would be just a 0. So 3 floats and an int. And this is what we then give to the attack manager, the global. You know what's funny? Messages show up on stream faster than in the chat box for me, Liv Mao. Oh, really? I've had that with Twitch a couple of times. It's weird. I feel like it depends a lot on your my computer and browser. So I have a shitty laptop, and sometimes if I have too many streams open at the same time, there's weird lag. Like weird, like you described. Like I can see, like I write a thing and I can't even like what I wrote doesn't appear in the chat box, but I see it on screen, and then it comes in later. I'm like, that's weird. Fair enough. My PC's Wi-Fi sucks. That could explain it then. See, now we can do attack damage, which we started there. So where do we store this? Well, this would be then in attack underscore dict dot damage. Wait, no, that's not how you refer to shit inside a freaking. So we do that and that. Right? I can't remember how the frick do I dictionary? I take some key 42. Point dict my color. Export enum, white, yellow, orange. Variable my color string. Points dict, white, yellow there. Points dict my color. Yeah, right. Alright, cool. Yeah, good. Just double checking. Now, expected end of statement after expression. Found identifier instead. Attack, dict, damage, attack. Oh, right. There should probably be a sign. There we go. I was getting 0.68 megabytes per second speeds a few days ago, so I believe it's dict.get. Yeah, but no, we're not getting it. We're assigning it because it starts at the value of 0, and here we have the attack damage that we got by getting from asking it from the freaking get elements here. And yes, all of this could be simplified into a fewer lines. But like I said, we're not doing that. We don't do few lines here. Why use few lines when many lines can be used? Again, we want it to be like self-documenting, linguistically as logical as possible, like clear as possible. Because I'm gonna be looking at this at a later point in time. When it's been possibly weeks, possibly months since I wrote this, and I want it to be as sort of clear as possible, like what the friggity frack am I doing here? Like for one thing, having an attack dict dictionary defined here is problematic, because this is the kind of information we might want in other places. So maybe that'll be something we'll define in a global. Okay then, yeah. Now, because we define here just a dictionary where we have attack speed, size, shape, which we define here, attack speed, size, shape, and in this thing it should be the rune is using the input given, calculates what will be the final damage speed, size, and shape, and gives that over to a global, which then uses that information to generate an attack. Now, we are noticing a problem here as I get to this point, which is at what point do we know where to generate the attack and in what direction? But we'll look at that later, because the rune shouldn't give a shit. Which also means maybe the rune should not be informing the attack manager this either. Right, the rune knows its owner, I guess. Maybe. Perhaps. No, probably not, because it's not a node. The circle does know its owner, though. Yeah, the circles will always know who owns it. Because eventually I would like to build it in a way where the attacks of the enemies are function exactly the same as the players. If possible. I might have to simplify those because I'm not sure how much math this will be. And if many of these happen at the same time, then even a simple game can slow down drastically. We don't want that to happen. Yeah. Well, this is why if we first build an overly complex and convoluted system, and eventually we simplify the shit out of it. Like right now, a lot of this logic is happening inside the runes themselves. I do believe we might be able to simplify this. So all of the logic actually just happens inside the freaking circle. And it just gets certain numbers from these runes. That's it. Now that I said that aloud, I realized, yes, I'll be, yeah. Might be a lot better. Fuck. Oh well. Let's have another drink. Well, before we pivot and build something simpler. Sorry. We need to apparently hydrate more. Let's build the overly complex system first. Then we can gut the entire system. Because then when the overly complicated system at least kind of works, we'll have a clearer understanding of how does the flow of logic here work? What does the ultimate end point look like? And what is it that we actually need at that point? Yeah, because the idea was here to be runic circles. Now the runes themselves are doing a lot of stuff and the circle is doing barely anything. And I'm realizing a lot of this would be simpler if we had a lot of logic happening in this, like the circle does the thing. And the runes more literally just fill out certain kind of variables here, essentially, in the larger function of the circle itself. But we'll build it this way first. Because if nothing else, at least I can then say I've done it. And I've gotten this sort of the logic of this implementation out of my system. And who knows, maybe this will be a good practice for, future problems, future solutions, future projects. Anyway, we're doing this tactic damage. Attack damage equals damage multiplier. Attack dict. Oh. We can do this immediately here, because the rune itself, we define these. The only things we really need to do the math here for is speed. Oh, right now, not even that. Bonk. Damage starts at 0 because we calculate that depending on the input. Speed is defined when the rune has been sort of designed, and in this math, we'll just copy in the existing value. So the speed equals attack speed. Oh god, this is a song I hate. It tickles my brain in an uncomfortable way. I'll do a quick scene change because I'm dumb. Come on now. Oh, I can. There we go. Now let's have a look see here. Chili Hoppy Duppy. Change it to Maxini. Go here. Whoop. And change back here. There you go. Okay now. Now, So we have the attack speed from there. The attack size. And the attack shape. Damage starts at 0. Get the value from here. Do like a return with filter power empty. Like, don't do nothing if you know you don't get anything back. Give us a little print in the terminal for an error. I'll probably have to do a proper error manager system eventually, and then attack damage is then acquired. Sorry. And attack damage equals damage times multiplier. And then attack manager generate attack. The attack dict of type dictionary void does fuck all for now. Save. Generate attack. And the attack dict. So in theory now, using this information, it should be able to generate an attack. Ah. Sprites. There we go. So now we have a way of giving the information from here. The root we create somehow to the attack manager. And here we see the attack transform being the problem. We have no connection to who the fuck generated this attack. Just the attack was in fact generated. Which means we should then probably have a call to attack manager when you launch an attack. Then it has a reference to the circle in question, generates the attack through the circle. Then you could just have a feedback system, who knows. But thinking that, in the future, we can have to redesign that entire piece of nonsense we just made. It's been really fun trying to figure it out, what leads to where, what does what. And it's good practice in the sort of like compartmentalization of all the logic we are and are not making here. Getting there. So for now, then we have generate attack. Yeah, we're at an impasse. Because we can't. We cannot generate an attack because we don't know where the attack will be. But we can try. So let's assume we would know where the attack is. We have the transform information. We have the node information. Let's start with that one, because we are currently going to make a thing that launches a bolt. So everything that leads up to this needs to be redesigned. But this part, though, is something that does need to be made. So, okay, here we have spawn attack transform 2D. We instantiate one attack scene. Currently, our attack scene is this. Hey there, puppy. Nice seeing you around, and thank you for the alert. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And I hope those meetings aren't too ineffective and annoying. Because, there will always be meetings. Now, our attack has a sprite here. It has a shape, which has a radius. But we don't need to worry about those. We only need to worry about the sprite. And here as well, seeing as we can have everything here animated into this, I wonder, maybe the generate bolt has that type, has a bolt attack. So I would essentially choose, okay, instantiate this particular scene for the attack. Then for its sprite, well, it would have an explanation of what it is. So instead of having to then load those different things in and out, so I wonder if we can just have all of these as possibilities inside this animation. But I did kind of hope for them to be sort of procedurally slightly more generatable. Well, for now, it'll work though. It will be heckin' fine. With firebolt, ice bolt, air bolt, with dirt bolt. Boom, there you go. Sprite. I was thinking of it being like the address in the string. Currently, it can just be a name, because we can then define these as they are here by just firebolt, ice bolt. And we can change which animation this sprite is playing, depending on which string we have in question here. So we'll do the attack here. So we do func choose animation new underscore anim of type string output void, and let's see here. So to do animated sprite 2D dot animation equals string. Built-in type cannot be used as the name of its own. Ah. See, had a massive brain fart there. So then we have choose animation, sets the new animation. If the animation needs to be called for that one, for example, fire, bolt. So generate exact. Shit. I guess we might have to. Stuff. You're global. Your shit don't need those. Nor do you need to extend node. Because node means it has. Wait, no. Fine. Keep it for now. I was thinking 2D node. The 2D node has like location and rotational information, like a transform. But the base node doesn't have that one. It has other benefits, hope. So it'll hang out there for now. Okay, so generate attack. What the hell do you do? The first one, I guess, would be if current level equals no. We'll do a copy of this one. Return anything, just stop doing shit. Print the thing, and don't. Yes, and don't. Actually, no. Do. And we'll change you from void to bool. If shit works out, return true. Heck name. Hey, the ironic moronic. Is this one attack that has multiple ranks? No, level is like, gee, where are we spawning it into? Like the level the player is in. Map, if you will. If it has no node for in which map, or in this instance I'm calling level, the player is in, don't spawn an attack if you can't spawn it in anywhere. It's more to make sure that this has been properly updated, because the level sort of script, the first thing it should be is looking at the attack manager and inside current level assigned yourself, so it has a pointer to the current level we're in. That's what's called my level stages or maps, lol. Yeah, makes sense. I just been making these very like mini games for so long, and they always call it just level, because you know it's level 1, level 2, it is a level. Yeah, but all of this. You know what? You got me convinced. Let's do it. Let's see here. Let's see if I can remember how to do this. It is here. No. Find current underscore level. Replace current map. Place all. It's really only a problem if you're gonna have the experience type of level as well. Yeah, it's true. I don't think we're gonna have that, but then again, we're early in the project, so you made a very good point on like how to differentiate it sort of logically and linguistically. So I think that was a change worth doing. Okay, should I just make something stupid that kind of works? Let's see if we can. Now the problem here is we're instantiating the new attack in the current map. But the problem is when we enter here, we have no idea where the fuck the transform is. Where are we generating this attack? Because I built this like a moron. So when we do this, well, hello there, another Jamie. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Morning, return. Well, good morning to you. Hope you're having a lovely day and morning and or evening. Time zone of your choice. A lot of programming is actually a challenge of vocabulary. Yeah, especially because I'm very bad at remembering to put in comments when they matter, and I am very easily distracted and I forget what I did. That's why I'm trying to learn to make sure that whatever I do, it is well linguistically like self-documenting and explaining, so that when I return to this later on and will be inevitably slightly confused of how did this thing actually work, it should be as sort of clear and concise as possible. And that's why, yeah, I was very much in favor of your choice from current level to current map. Every time I start in my new project, I think I'm going to write comments. I don't. Sad but true. Sad but true. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, currently... Well, thank you, Flip Floppy, for that follow. I really do appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful day, friend. I think currently for this stupid thing to even barely work, which we just want to experiment, would it work? Yeah, we have come to the end of the loop and realized none of this works. It's built wrong, which is okay, because the logic flows, logic makes sense. It's just I've overcomplicated far too much. But only thanks to this overcomplication do I now sort of understand what I was hoping to achieve and how to make it way better and a lot more logical. Because right now, as I was explaining, I put too much of the logic is happening sort of inside the runes, whereas the runes themselves should be a bit more like variables, I guess. Or we'll see. yeah, god damn it, because then the problem also is that, you know, depending on how you build it, it'll do different things. And that's why, well, what if there is no like proper filtration? And sometimes that might okay. So okay, you still need, I need to move a bunch of the logic there into the circle itself, because the runes do not and cannot and will never know who actually sort of owns them properly. They'll just do what they're told. Whereas the runic circle will then know, is it owned by a player or is it owned by another entity? And the good thing is, because then we won't have to always go through the entire flow of the rune pretty much to generate an attack. So for efficiency's sake, when the thing is created, we calculate what does an attack look like, and then we'll know, and we'll just keep on referencing that one, unless you're affected by a debuff. But we can have that be dealt with in a separate point in time. Right now, I built this sort of flowing logic where every time you launch an attack, all that math needs to be done again, which is dumb because the output will always be the same. So we will instead have that thing be doing that as you build it, and then it remembers its final value, and then we'll always be referencing that one when we make an attack. I think that would be a way more simple. And of course, yeah, saves on the whole math business, and also makes it then more sensible that we can use the same now structure like runic logic to then build any attack for enemies as well. Because I was thinking like, dang, because okay, having that thing happen every time for a player, we can see that happening. You know, you won't be sort of too overpowering it too much. But then what if we have like a swarm of enemies and every single one of them like wants to attack like almost simultaneously, and they all launch into this math process of running through their circle every time, and that'll get tricky. Right, you should only calculate what you shoot when you change, not every time you shoot. Exactly, ironic moronic. Yep, that is pretty much it. Yeah, because then I was thinking, oh, well, what if they're like debuffs and buffs affect this and that and so on? And yeah, well, we'll have those as a separate layer that is calculated. Like, we have the attack, we already know what the attack is, and then that attack itself is affected by possible debuffs and so on. So, first we overcomplicate, and then we simplify. You know, this is my way, how I do many things in, you know, art, design, coding. First we let it grow wild, and then like a gardener, we prune it down into a state that makes a lot more sense. But first we need to I've noticed that it helps me at least to let it grow wild like this, because sometimes by making bad choices, I might find that I accidentally discovered a better way to do it than the sort of like sensible way would have been, or what just happens to work for my project better. And like I said, like breaking things is the best way to learn how to fix things, because if you figure out where something breaks, then you know, like, okay, if push it I can push it this far, you know. And again, yeah, and just figuring out how all the logic works, yeah. Because I was thinking, yeah, of course, as we saw here in the rune protection, I was thinking about like attack dictionaries, all these like, because I keep on essentially having the same information in multiple dictionaries in multiple places and so on, because of the very compartmentalized logic here, and that's kind of dumb. Instead, the rune projection should only have, speed, have all this information, but it shouldn't be doing the math in here. You should just be returning like, okay, well, here's the area of the shape you're making, and the previous guy told you like, well, this is the amount of power you have. And then we do the same math here, where we're like, okay, well, apply these multipliers to the power, like, and then this one knows its speed, and we use all that information, give that to the attack manager, which is the global, and that is why I wanted to have an input of the attack transform, because it will be. Because we can technically save attack transform inside another global for like the player handler. So the player handler always knows where the aiming thing is.
Late morning, cheeky, smiley face.
Hey there, Ugla. Nice seeing you. Hope you're having a lovely late morning as well. Yep, we're past noon. We've gotten the minimum 2 hours done, and we have coded ourselves into a little bit of a pickle. But the good thing is we have now finally finished what we set up to do, which was make all the rune-based classes, figure out the logic, and then we come up, now we come all the way around full circle. We come to we're making the attack, and then we realize this shit don't work. Or at least it doesn't work very efficiently. I forget, you are in my future time. Yes, I'm in +2, so I'm assuming you're in +1. I'm 1 hour ahead. From Greenwich. In Greenwich Mean Time, or UTC. Universal Time Consortium? I can't remember. I was wondering, can I still force this thing to kind of work? I kind of want to see, will this nonsense even work? Because wondering, what if we should just have a separate attack handler for the player and the enemies? I mean, sure, we'll be generating yet another global here. But then again, they will be working with different rules, and then I don't need to try to figure out who's calling out the attack. Is this supposed to be attacking the player? Is this supposed to be damaging the enemies? Because if they just have their own handlers. Ooh, Skydays SB, thank you for that follow. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you have a most wonderful day, friend. So you have one global attack manager with the runes to tell us to spawn the projectiles in. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the runes are in the circle. The circle goes through the runes, and then from that we determine the elemental balance of the attack. What is the shape of the attack? Its speed, its final damage output, its size, and most likely, and potentially, and then also its sprite, and hopefully then in the future its coloration as well. And then we give all that information to the attack manager, which actually then creates the actual scene, the actual object in-game that has animation, that has a collision logic and all that. Because all of this is math happening in the background. And the way I built it now is every time you launch an attack, it would do all the math again and again and again, which is very inefficient because, like I said previously, the output will always be the same. So we just do the output once. When you build So what the circle should be doing is having a pretty much defined shape of the final attack. And it can then give that to the attack manager. And the attack manager needs the transform information to these for the location and orientation of the attack. And potential max range, whatnot, or if even we'll see how that happens once we start dealing with stuff like AOE and beams and whatnot. Yeah, the idea is because I want this logic to function, no matter in which map we are in. That is for we have the current map loads in. We need to give the current map in its and make sure it's spawned inside the attack container, which is just a node essentially. So it's just kind of like a folder. Because, these are what we got done in the first day. Then it's been multiple days of just looking at code. Oh yeah, I broke something, didn't I? Assign a property you keep a current level with value type node 2D level, the base type node attack attack manager. So attack manager has, it's because it's called current map now. So we go here, we go to level, we stop. Now we change that one. Save. F6 one more time. See, because we have the mouse follows where the player will be. When we click, that is when the math should happen for what kind of damage attack are we making. Because then we generate that sort of Godot object, and it then detects collisions, deals with the timer for how long it should exist, what is its speed, how big is it, a very small bolt, a very large bolt, and that kind of stuff. But if it's always requested from the circle, here's give me the attack information. It has the attack information. We could have then attacks have some variability, but then the circle can deal with that, how many times it would have to recalculate something. So the circle deals with that, because currently the circle is only like essentially being a container for the runes in the runic circle. And it just like gives in a piece of like information in the first one, which is essentially an empty list of the elements, puts in the like raw power, then goes to the filter, creates a new one of the filtered information, and then it gives it to the projectile manager, and then it gets back a piece of waste which you use to calculate a cooldown. And currently it is also then the projectile here is calling the actual attack, which I guess is the wrong way to go. It should be the circle who then tries to create the attack, and the rune is just giving back, information. So I like the fact that all runes have activate rune, so we can always have just a loop that goes through them, calls activate rune, gets something back. We can actually use the same logic here, just handing out the array of information, and them all sort of like adding or changing things. Because in the end, every attack will have the same, series of information. Then we have the circle detects, have there been changes in the circle? If yes, recalculate final attack. If not, final attack is in its final form. So a lot of this logic goes away. We don't do that one. So if we look at the circle base here, see, all does activate circle with 4 current rune in rune containers. Current rune activate rune spell state, then return calculate cooldown to spell state. Yeah, because the idea was then the player handler would call activate circle, and you can calculate the cooldown number here based on the information, how much waste heat there was essentially. But the circle can do that too, and it just so we can have a visual guide for the player, or at least we can, because it doesn't need to do it every time. We just know it, right? And then the in-game can like just check like, hey, how long is the cooldown between these attacks? Oh, there it is. Okay, excellent. So we built something excessively complicated. Now that we need to simplify. So activate circle would still do the activate runes. We could have calculate cooldown, yes. We're a return there. Then this one then needs to figure out what does the final attack form. I mean, we haven't even seen its final form. So then we'll have a good old hashtag to do variable to hold final attack form /info for quick reference. Variable. I think this will be then what we need to then figure out next time, and we'll have to then backtrack from there. So what does the actual final form of the attack look like? How do we actually generate the actual attack? And then we make the circle be able to do that, because the circle will know who owns it. Then it will be better. Yeah, we'll both have to then figure out like who's the manager. Do we have a player manager separate from an enemy manager, attack manager, and we just tell it like who's attacking who, is this doing? Because I would like for there to be, allow the player to make bad choices and like make a giant explosion.
Smooch.
Giant. Hey there, casual. Hope you're doing well. So I want the player to be able to make an attack that is just an explosion as kind of thing. Like, hey, cool, we'll start with this one. And then you just blow yourself up. I want there to be friendly fire risk here. And then you make smarter spells, which will then be able to only attack the enemy and so on and so forth. But hope you're doing well, casual. Nice seeing you. And I hope you had fun in Peräjärvi. I have gotten to my logic of the spell circle finally has reached the end, and I realized I've built an absolute mess that will not work. And now we're trying to figure out the best way to then make it work. I died. Oh! Tragic. The classic Peräjärvi story, isn't it? It's... my winter and my summer cars, it's just Groundhog Day. Groundhog car, I guess. Yeah. I got complacent about the problem meter. Yeah. Might be a risk for those who play the game, the MSC too much. They're thinking, I still got time. Whenever I see it go to red, I panic. I instantly must fix. Where's that beer? Make sure there's beer hidden everywhere. Yeah. I feel like... How would one then design this? Because if you look at the attack manager, we have... It needs to know the attack transform. We call that somehow. Maybe the circle base will give it. Who knows? We'll figure that one out. So currently, I like the idea of going through the runes, but maybe it would then. Well, I guess we'll have to just make some changes into how what all the spell state contains. Because currently, it was just started out as just having the elemental power stuff. But if we change that to actually have all the spell stuff, including sprite names, speed, size, damage, everything. And that way we can feed that one through the runes, let them do their editings. Because I think that logic still makes sense. And then using that, it should be relatively easy to always generate a new attack. Because like I said, it should have the names, values, references for everything. So then the attack manager would just then create the scene and fill in the appropriate variables on the attack. Right now, it only has, type, float. It doesn't do anything. It would just build something very quick and dirty to just kind of look right. And now I'm just repeating myself because I'm just processing. That is true, actually. We should be starting from here. So this is the most generic sort of bolt thing that we're going to start with, right? Now, what does it need to know? It has a speed value, which currently says const, but we're going to change that now. It's a variable, aren't we? Well, eventually. Right now, we have this information. So for the new one, we would need... the animation, which is we'll have as a string. The variable for damage. The variable for... Had a bit of a brain fart there. A lowercase speed would be a float equals 0.0. Hey there, Aurealia. Hope you're doing well. Nice seeing you around again, friendo. We have the animation, we have the damage, with the speed. We need a size. Float, because what if it's a big chunky one? Everything defaults to 0 and nothing, so that we can hopefully identify changes. Also means that we need to make a new kind of... I do believe function, the inbuilt one is just init path. Sizer. No, size. Damage, speed, size. Shit. Elemental information still needs to be carried. So... where's that calculated? Jesus.
I did it. We have a Twitch baby. Ha, Hanji.
TTS was wild with that one. Jesus Christ. But you did it. Well done, Toji. A Twitch baby. Jesus Christ, 9 months. Thank you very much for that support. Sorry, I was just left speechless by the TTS. That was wild. Anji. You take good care of our Twitch baby now, Toji. A sweet little Anji.
Ha ha ha.
Oh man, TTS. Oh, you wild thing. Yeah, I'm using the Google Cloud TTS. Like this. So, hey, of course, we're absolutely part of the whole Cool Cats Club. All the cool cats get shout outs around here. Yeah. For TTS, I'm using the Google Cloud TTS service. You know, it's a paid service, but you have to pretty much run a call center to end up paying something. Keeps on running down to 0, so that's nice. And then they have their like chirp voices, which is slightly more. I think they're experimenting with the AI logics to deal with inflection that would always change depending on how it read things. And sometimes weird shit happens thanks to that one, and I love it. And I really need to stream again, but my pain and anxiety has been all over the place. Oh, that sucks. That really sucks. I hope it gets better. I know it's easier said than done, especially with the whole anxiety, especially coupled with like a chronic pain. Jesus, that is just dreadful. Well, I can really offer you my sympathies, and I hope you get better. And sometimes it does help to just, get back on the horse, as you say. Maybe you should, just have a chill stream. You can try to do a stream where you can say, like, heads up, no talking or something if you feel the anxiety building up too much. I'm getting new meds for the anxiety after the high BP scare. That's good. I hope the high BP thing gets solved with the newer meds. But yeah, damn it can't be afloat. It will be afloat for now. Jesus Christ, I need to just control myself. We need to figure out an elemental array, essentially, which we can reuse everywhere. So it's defined in one place. That way, when we change it, eventually, everything will follow that one. Then we have in our damage, we give that elemental array in its entirety to the damage, so that when the attack hits something, depending on the enemy's resistances, because it might be a good idea to have combined elements in one attack, so that it might be might have resistance to one, but maybe weakness to the other, or no resistance to the other, and then you'll take more damage. Boom, nice. Ooh. So what are we making? Ooh, long-term game now. Taking care of yourself is far more important. Being in pain is terrible. Yeah, it is. That's why I'm like, I'm trying to, all I can do is give you, words of support. Because being in pain does suck. It is. It can be so debilitating. You can really, take control over your life and control what you can and can't do. So, the closest I've been to there was, I was in line for surgery for my hernia. And it was like, when everything was fine, it was fine until it wasn't. And then I had to take breaks and like massage my intestines back inside. Uncomfortable. And it was a rough time. So I can only imagine then what you were going through, because that one was more like just really uncomfortable pain, and with some pain, more discomfort, and also like the feeling of wrongness. But remember, you probably still have your pain with your leg and that kind of stuff. Like actually, like hurts. So it's very different. It's a different kind of experience. So I hope you feel better. But yeah, the long-term game idea is to make what was originally described as a survivors-like or a Brutato-like kind of game where you enter levels, you fight enemies, you collect drops, get loots, and between runs you upgrade your build here. And it's sort of veering in its theory building to the point of almost a resource extraction sort of kind of game. But the core idea is what I wanted to build is a game where you build a magical circle of runes to design your own attacks. So similar to Noita, where you have a series of spells that leads to having an ultimate effect. Except in this one, it's more granular. You make the very spell itself. So instead of having like firebolts and like delayed casting or whatever, it's just like, power source, magical filter for elements and like the shape of a bolt. And that is how you make your sort of firebolts. You have to like make the actual spell. So more granular, and we're trying to then come up with own like science and logic for how it works, how elements interact. And right now, I'm just trying to figure out how do I make a magic circle with runes work in an if this then that sort of logic, and came to the conclusion that what I built is dumb. But it has been a very good practice, good inspiration, and now we're gonna see if we can fix it by changing where the logic happens. Because, it wasn't dumb, but it just doesn't work for what we need. Roguelike, got it. Kinda, yeah. Though it may closer to roguelite, I think, because you'll do your runs, and then the idea is to then make a game. Maybe you'll have a story even, where it is, like the narrative went from you being like the current like working title is, you can see the top left there, maybe, but it says DIY Wizard, where you create your own spells, and you go out there and you fight your magical the magical boogeymen and your monsters, and you collect the harvest their resources from their fallen flesh. To what if, because then I'm thinking, well, what if you lose? Well, then a character dies, and that sort of ends the narrative here. So instead, you're building magical golems, the machines, to send them to fight for you, and part of that is designing how their attacks work, possible defenses. So you construct these things, and you send them out, and then as you in the level, you play the robots or magical golem, or however you want to describe it, which will then be fighting the enemies and collecting resources and trying to make it to an X amount of time has passed, or an extraction point. We'll figure it out then. So it has evolved into a resource extraction game kind of thing, because then you use those resources to then improve upon your build, using some of them as ammo, maybe some off-screen crafting, some through menus. Maybe there's base in between you want to build and upgrade and so on, and then there's trading to be done with a trader to build a better machine, go harvest even more dangerous loots and so on and so forth. And the boogermen seem scary too. It's true. Kind of like slimes, aren't they? The boogermen. Just a bit chunkier. Yeah. Okay, so we need to simplify certain things. One is to have a resource file being its own class, so we can have it be an item from the elemental power array, like this one, except it only has these. Well, no, it should be fine, I guess. I was wondering, do we need the functions here? Because we then want to be able to send one of these to in the attack to the enemy itself, so the enemy can check, does he have resistances or weaknesses to any of the elements. Like we're starting with the classical 4. We can have, I'm hoping to make a large and complex system. So I guess the damage information would be in the form of one of these. For now, at least. Feels excessive, but then again, it'll be fine. Yeah, either that or then we make a similar class system that is just made out of this one, but no functions. Maybe it'll be lighter. I'm like so used to trying to like build everything as like light as possible. Yeah, because that way we could have. Yeah, that makes sense, because then we can give that same information like post filter. Then it goes to the. Then we add the modifier from for the damage via the thing, the projection rune that turns it into an attack bolt in this super simplistic form. Yeah, we went from power source to projection rune now. Next step is, I guess, define what does an attack actually look like. Define that structure, and then backtrack again through the same process to figure out what do we actually need from the silliness we've been making. Because we need to figure out how is the attack actually generated first. And part of that is figuring out the attack scene. So the string that names the animation, because then we can have the one sprite here with all the various animations preloaded into here, and that'll be fine. And you go from float to an elemental power resource, and its speed and its size, because it has a circular area effect. Yeah, but then the size will affect the visual size and the physics of the firebolts. We'll have to put all this inside the init function, so that when we create a .new attack, it will require this information to create it. So we'll never have a sort of attack with just this information. Otherwise, this sort of makes sense. Then it'll carry that information, and yeah, that works. We've gone past the 2 hours, so I'm gonna have myself a break. I need to go to the loo anyway, and then we'll be entering the magical wild land of friggin' Peräjärvi. My winter car. Finnish man in Finnish winter, experiencing simulated Finnish winter. Terrifying. Well, that'll be soon. I'm gonna have a quick break. Then we'll do everything on the, cutting off the YouTube side, restarting, all that stuff. That'll be soon. Hello, hello. Now returned, and now we shall do the category changes. I've in their cars. Now we're gonna change this scene here. Actually, because of this, we're gonna do this one for a little bit. And go here. And over on the YouTube side. Thank you for hanging out. And we'll be changing, I'll be stopping the live stream so that I can start the next one under a new category. So, see you soon.